Let's begin with the UPSC 2020 paper. So we would cover paper 1 section 1 in this class, and then we will proceed further with the remaining topics in the separate lecture. The idea is most of the topics that are here which were part of your 2020 papers have been covered in our lectures, and those which have not are part of the complete video course. So the links for the same are available below. Now even the topics that we have covered, we would provide the YouTube link simultaneously. So Halloween is from a very important topic. We have already covered that video. The link is available here. So whenever you are writing a question, what is very important to understand, we need to understand what you write. So exact writing, exact content, I do not recommend. That's not a good way to develop your answer writing practices. But what should be included? So first of all, you would answer the question, what is a Halloween storm? You would understand the causes of the Halloween storm, the process related to the Halloween storm, and the effects that were seen in North America and the neighboring nations. So that is the layout that should be covered in your answer writing, which is very important. Now the next question talked about analyzing the importance of mapping in geohydrological investigations. Now geohydrological investigations, as the name suggests, we are talking about the groundwater resources and the geological developments. So focusing on the catchment areas, the investigation of groundwater, the means for irrigation, the focus on various zones which can be demarcated as zones for springs, zones for geysers, need to be understood. So how important is mapping? First of all, it would provide us a good quantitative data. We would have a kind of cost effective way under which the analysis can be done. There can be thickness mapping which can be done through the isopatch mapping. So isopatch talks about the thickness of the geological material. Also we can understand the elevation. So those are just some of the points that we are trying to focus on and explain how important is mapping. So unless and until we map the resources, we are not aware where do we have groundwater potentials, what are the gray zones, what are the dark zones. And doing this by mapping is one of the best ways to understand how important it is. So when it comes to citing relevant examples, we can take examples from Punjab and Haryana and explain how post the green revolution there were dark zones which were created, and these are the areas where we have significantly lower water table. So with these kind of examples, you need to explain the concept. Now the next question focuses on marine resources. Again, a very important topic. We have covered this extensively in our video course. The idea is here, the most important thing that you have to cite is you need to focus on resources. So when it comes to resources, most of the students would be done with generally the basic resources, that is the presence of gold, silver, zinc, and manganese, and so on and so forth. But that's not just the marine resources. The marine resources would include the deep sea deposits, the deep sea nodules, even the tidal energy, the subsurface deposits, the energy currents which are flowing in. So what are the processes through which desalination can be done, salt can be extracted, pure water can be utilized. So all this would also form the part of marine resources. So directly or indirectly we are obtaining these from marine resources. So how tidal energy can be generated, waves could be utilized for energy. We are not focusing on only mineral resources. So be very careful. Most of the students do this important mistake in this question, that they focus exclusively on the mineral deposits that have been mentioned. So this is just a way to understand that mineral deposits along with other marine resources become important. The next is a very interesting question, and this was we can say an extract from down to earth summaries. So what factors influence the growth of wild plants in India? We can cite two important plants here. One is eucalyptus and the other is lantana. Lantana mainly seen in the regions of Rajasthan, Sajjangarh Fort and the neighboring areas. Eucalyptus mainly seen along the western Ghats, the alien species which have invaded the region. Now the most important thing that we need to understand whenever there is a growth of wild plant is firstly the conditions that affect it. So sunlight, definitely the land conditions, the temperature conditions, the rainfall conditions are some of the conditions which would affect the growth of the wild plants in India and in any specific country, not just India. So two of the examples that we have cited, and as I mentioned, this is one of the contemporary topics that has been covered and therefore important. The next important thing we need to focus is with the economic significance. Now what happens with the lantana? It basically forms a mat. Now when it forms a mat on the surface, what would happen? The grazing potential for the grazing animals would decrease, and at the same time the land value would be affected, but there would be a native biodiversity and a alien biodiversity. So hybrid species would be produced, and that is one of the major advantages which can be seen here. The next is the living conditions associated with million plus cities. Now we have already covered a class on urbanization and the response to the urban sprawl. Very important topic. Now when it comes to living conditions and the problems associated to it, we need to understand pollution as one of the major problems, congestion, availability of fresh air, development of urban forest, tree cover, cooling of the roofs, flash floods in the urban areas. Then we have higher population, anthropogenic generated waste and associated measures. So all of those affect the living condition in the million plus cities. So you can further classify it into either the social aspects, the economic aspects and the anthropogenic aspects. Under the anthropogenic aspects, you can say pollution is definitely one of the major ways, traffic pollution is another, traffic emissions are another ways. Under social, we would focus on crowding, we would focus on implications as crime, the rising crimes in the urban areas. And economic would be under the various ways through which we would say that it would impact the socio-economic structure of the cities, where there would be living diversities, higher amount of slums which would be seen, and this would be ultimately detrimental to the social conditions with increasing issues related to water, sanitation, hygiene and so on. So again, a very basic topic. When it comes to the theories and the models for continent and ocean evolution, we have covered the Lothian Green model, the Wegener's model for continental drift and the plate tectonics theory. All of these needs to be established and explained in summary. So it is how the continents and the oceans evolved, and then we can see there were various theories which finally one theory and explain the criticism of the next theory, that theory, and explain how the next theory evolved on top of it. So the links have been given here, you can watch the videos for more reference. Again, coral bleaching has been covered extensively in this video. The idea is its recovery and macroalgal regime shift is very important. Now when it comes to recovery, coral bleaching usually occurs due to very high differences in the temperature. So if that is not retreated back, there would be a permanent bleaching which would occur. But however, if the favorable conditions come back, this coral bleaching actually vanishes and the corals can regain their levels. The larval supply is another important criteria. We can say grazing of the herbivores is missing, and overgrowth by the algae can slow the reef recovery. So again, one of the major aspects, natural selection, how it occurs, and basically connectivity. So better the connectivity for reseeding, we can say better are the probability for recovery of coral global bleaching. So those were some of the basic aspects related to it. The next is the currents in the North Atlantic and their role in western climate of Western Europe. Very basic question. So in this diagram you can see the major currents. So what you actually have to do is explain the major cold currents and warm currents. So you can simply classify the list into the list of cold currents and warm currents, and then explain the significance as where you have the merger of the two, you would have rich fishing grounds. Also this would bring in more upwelling of the cold waters due to the offshore wind. There would be higher amount of moisture which would be present, and then this would also affect the rainfall patterns. So all of this is something that needs to be explained. So ocean currents, again we have covered extensively. Monsoon and its factors affecting it, a very important topic, very basic topic. We have covered it extensively again. So the differential land and water heating, then you have the role of Tibetan Plateau, the Indian Dipole, the presence of high pressure areas, jet streams. All of these are some of the points that you have to bring into account. The topic is very basic and always explainable. The next is deforestation. Again, I have not mentioned the video link, but as mentioned before, all of these topics have been covered. So the causes and the effect. Causes, as we all know, there are significant changes in the land use pattern. Shifting cultivation, zooming cultivation is one of the major reasons for deforestation in the northeast. Forest area being transformed into pasture area, overgrazing in many of the regions, building of industries, urbanization are some of the reasons which are affecting the deforestation. Lumbering is another activity which leads to deforestation in the hilly areas. Now, effects, this would imbalance the environmental cycle and lead to severe climate change. That's one of the major things that you need to focus on. And then you can cite examples from the various countries across the globe and how small states have been affected. A case study of Vanuatu is one of the studies that we have discussed. The next is the developments of front, which is known as frontogenesis, and the collapse of front, which is known as frontolysis. Lysis means destruction and genesis means origin. So how fronts are originating and how fronts dissolve is what you have to explain with their characteristic features. So the feature basically focus on the opposite air masses, the difference in the temperature conditions, and then you have the various circulations, the translatory circulations, the rotatory circulations, the convergent circulations, and explain the various fonts, the stationary font, the stationary front, cold front and the warm front, and then their characteristics to explain this question well. The next talks about the problems of erosional surfaces and the methods to identify them with suitable diagram. Now, first of all, we need to understand if the drainage is poor, what would happen? The rate of infiltration would be higher. Also, if you have lots and lots of soil erosion, there would be more exposure to the subsurface rock. So, subsurface rock would be exposed. Hazardous conditions could be created for individuals. Bank erosion would take place. Damage to the coastal areas would take place. The growth and the yield of the cropping patterns would be affected. Downslope areas would be affected because the runoff would be from the higher areas, and there would be emergence of disruptive patterns in the downslope regions. Also, road damage, infrastructure damage are some of those. Now, we need to identify the methods and suitable diagrams for the same. Now, here, first of all, you can put in a diagram and explain how poor drainage would be a cause for erosional surface. Then, the order in which the stream runs, so hypsometric analysis, dating of erosional surfaces are some of the ways through which you explain this. Again, explained thoroughly in our course. The next is the land use cover and soil type influence the forage quality and the quantity in the semi-arid regions of the world. Now, land cover is very important. First of all, we need to identify throughout the world in this question where are the zones of semi-arid regions, and then we identify that 30% of the land probably or more is covered as a semi-arid or an arid area. That means the extremities between the minimum and the maximum daily conductivity is very high. So for that we need to understand hydraulic conductivities, and this would be explaining one of the ideas behind the transport or the fluid movement. So how the water movement actually takes place in the semi-arid area would be one of the criteria. Then forage is important because it has a very high nutritive value, and if the forage is good, the animal performance would be good, the diet of the individual people living in that area would be good. So everything is directly and proportionally related. So that means through the scientific ways, through plant grazing, through extensive farming that can be practiced into that region, this problem can be actually resolved. Nitrate accumulation can occur in certain forage areas when the region is under high stress, either due to frost or due to drought. Then this need to be taken into account. And specific crops, for example corn, you can have sorghum, ray are some of the good examples. Sudan is one of the areas where lots and lots of Sudan grass is also grown. The next is human response to and management of hazards and disasters in India. Now here we need to understand, first of all there should be a pre-disaster stage, then we focus on disaster mitigation, and finally the post-disaster stage. In the pre-disaster stage we have the preparation. Now what is the preparation? The preparation focuses on research and development, predictions, scientific analysis, warning systems, warning mechanisms, focusing on disaster education as some of the pre-disaster management effects. The next is the mitigation, where we identify the disaster prone areas, bring in protective steps for the same, and work on improving the infrastructures, improving the structures, building in safer designs for the people, and in all ways we are trying to mitigate that problem of disaster. Then the last is the post-disaster impact. Under the post-disaster impact, we focus on relief measures. What could be the relief measures? What could be the social response which can be brought for the people? The relief material, the rehabilitation of the people, all of those would be as a part of the post-disaster response mitigation. So in either ways, we need to focus on preparedness, the response, the recovery, and finally the prevention or the mitigation, which is the most important aspect. So whenever we are focusing on disaster, we need to understand the hazard. What is the hazard, how vulnerable it is, and identifying a relation between hazard and vulnerability, we understand the risk analysis. How much risk is that area at when it comes to the disaster? So those were some of the major topics that were the questions that were asked for your 2020 geography, and the basic idea what kind of content should be part of your answers. To know more, please follow the links below which we have provided, and a couple of links were there in the video as well. So those would be helpful for you. You can also check out the various playlists which is available in the link below. Wish you a very good luck. If you have any questions, any doubts, feel free to post those in the comment section. We'll be more than happy to resolve your queries.